Sometimes I think some people get too pretentious. I think the Noah Van Sciver style is what I liked. But the thing is, he has street cred because he's a cartoonist and everybody likes him. And then he's dealing with other cartoonists, so they all have street cred. So it's like you have all these barriers broken. The only thing I remember when he interviewed what's his name? He did Alec. He was the guy that did the book with Alan Moore about the Ripper, the London Ripper. Um, oh my God, he's got that very scratchy style. Oh man, I'm gonna.
I know the book. I can't think of the person's name.
Yeah, okay. At first, your interview seemed kind of like awkward at first, but then it clicked in. You could just tell that I think he was trying to feel whether or not Noah was like a real cartoonist, and then it kind of clicked in. And I asked him about that. And he said, I messaged him. He said, "Yeah, I've never met him before." But you could tell he was kind of like feeling him out a little bit. But
Yeah.
but the thing is, I'm not a cartoonist, so it's like I have no street cred.
No, I like the Mark Maron podcast. And I feel like his strength is that he kind of puts people at ease. And just as somebody who's been on the other side, you really put people at ease. So I feel like that's a real strength and a real skill.
Well, thank you.
No. I mean, I wouldn't say it. I didn't mean it. Yeah.
No, I know. I just, yeah, I mean, I think people just got to be comfortable and you'll get better responses. And also, I've seen a lot of these. I used to listen to a lot of comics podcasts before we started recording. I used to listen to a lot of comics podcasts, and I've seen a lot of YouTube podcasts. And there are so many people that do these, and they're so freaking lazy. They ask the same kind of questions. You can tell they've done zero research. They haven't followed up, and then they try to like shine you on and act like they know, but they really don't know. And it's like, okay, dude, like you like A for effort, but like C for execution. Like you haven't read this, or you really don't know. Like I remember like I had reservations about doing this because I'm in my bedroom and I don't have pro gear. I have an iPhone, and I'm gonna edit this in iMovie on my phone and push it out. And I had a lot of reservations because I don't have the gear and stuff, that gear thing. But then I saw last year when Noah was doing um, the interview circuit for Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
There's this guy. He was like in his mid-20s, thin, good looking, had the big, fancy earphones, headphones on, and they had the studio, and it looked really cool. And then the first thing he says is, before he starts is, "Hey, look, let me just, because I have a question." He goes, "Your last name, is it pronounced Van Sciver or Van Sciver?" Swear to God. And Noah's so nice and patient. He goes, "Oh, it's Van Sciver," just without missing a beat. I would have been like eye rolling, like, "Are you serious, bro?" And I looked at that and I turned it off. And I love Noah. Like Noah could do no wrong to me, and for me. And it's like I just turned it off. I'm like, man, if this mofo cannot, with all this gear, is doing a YouTube show, and he doesn't even do enough research for 30 seconds to figure out how you spell somebody's last name, I can do a jankety one and it'll come out better than this. And I was like, that was like really my impetus, just seeing like, how the hell do you not know someone's last name? Why can't you just Google something that says his last name and then you're like, oh, that's how you say it? Like it takes not even a minute of your time. And it just stunned me. And that's what kind of gave me the impetus. And then I kind of got the guts to do it. And then I lost the guts. And so now you've given me the guts back.
That makes me feel good. No, you're doing everything right. I was honestly surprised and also really happy to see that you'd done any research at all. Like I went in not because of you, but just like because of just the folks I've dealt with before. Of just like, well, I assume nobody knows anything about me. I'm gonna, I was. It was heartwarming to see what you had done. That you had actually like looked into me and stuff. Like that was.
I forget who it was, but somebody did an interview with a comics creator. I've been a long time comics creator.
Yeah.
And they asked a question, and the guy goes, and the guest replies, "Oh, you actually did some research." And then he was like more into it because he realized that the guy had tried. And he's like, "Oh, you actually did some research." Like, okay, all right, we can work with this. Like he could tell that he was happy. And I never forgot that either. It's like these little things that you hear and you put together in your brain. Like, all right, it's like, okay, do your basic research so you're not clueless. Maybe that research and getting an answer question opens up another question.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about, or hey, he has that book Lefty. I didn't see that in the other interview, so I'm going to ask him about that stuff because that's an interesting story. These little things, and it doesn't take a lot of time. It's just people are just lazy, man.
No,
It's stunning. It's stunning to me. I mean, it's like if you're going to do this, and I'm not doing it for money, but I mean, if you're actually going to try to get ad and make money off of this, I mean, be a professional, do some work.
well, I mean, as a fan, like I feel like a big part of your YouTube channel is just the thoughtfulness that you're putting. Like it's clear that you are reading these books and absorbing them and having like thoughts that actually like have worth and matter. Because you so it comes
Thank you.
across. Yeah,
Yeah, I just want to be like honest. Like
yeah.
I don't know if you're okay. I don't know if you're familiar with pro wrestling at all, and if you're not, no big deal.
No.
Okay, there was in the 1990s there was an independent wrestling promotion called ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, and WWE and WCW, the big two guys, stole a lot of ideas from them. And they talked about how they were doing this promotion and they were just doing everything different. And that's why they were popular because back then the big promotions were very cartoony and stuff. And the guy who ran it said, they talked about not having the budget for pyro and lighting, and he's like, "There's no way you can compete with WWE, so screw it, screw lights, screw the pyro." He goes, "Here we are, down and dirty. It's all about the presentation." He talked about you with the wrestlers because they didn't have a lot of top tier wrestlers. He says, "You accentuate the positives and you hide the negatives," and it's like you. He goes like, "Just we did what we could do better than anybody else." He's like, "Why be second best at anything?" So he's like, "Screw lights, screw the pyro," and it's like, and it's like my attitude is like, okay. I can do this. I think I can do it well or somewhat well. So that's what I'm going to focus, and I'm not going to do other stuff. Like I'm not going to do like comics tropes. Nothing against comics tropes. I like comics tropes.
Oh yeah,
Chris is a nice guy too. In real life, he's a really nice guy, and he does a lot of work. And I remember I was trying to learn about Mobius, and I watched like 2 documentaries about Mobius, and I didn't really learn much French documentaries. And then I saw like his episode about Mobius, and I learned more in that 30 minutes than I learned in about 3 hours watching documentaries.
I like comic tropes. Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm not throwing shade, but he does this rehearsed. He does take after take. He has everything scripted. He does all this stuff. I don't have the time or the equipment. Like I need a Mac for that. I don't. So I'm not even going to go there. I'm just going to do what I can, bare bones. What I think I can do well, get the lighting right, get the sound right, just be consistent. I try to stay away from negative reviews. I will like once in a while throw some shade at somebody, but not being not what I mean, just be honest. But if I read a book and I don't like it, I'm not going to review it. I'm not going to trash somebody's book. If I really like it and I say I like it, I really like it. That's like when I did a review of Cancor by Matthew Allison. I said it's a beautiful book. It's drawn well. It's printed well. This collection is great. I have no idea what the hell he's talking about. And I even read 3 interviews with him. Like halfway through the book, I put the book down, read 3 interviews, and I'm like, I still don't know what he's talking about. And so this book meant nothing to me. Oh man, I got a lot of comments. Oh, I can't believe you didn't like it. I can't believe you didn't like it. I can't believe you like it. And I'm like, he needs to. I was like, he needs to like go to Marvel, work with a writer, and draw like a Wolverine comic or something, and it'll sell like millions of copies.
Yeah.
But I just didn't understand what he was talking about. People say, no, but you understand, he's talking about the id and the super ego, and he's talking about the neurosis. Is this that? And it's like, no, he's not. I mean, I know some of it's autobiographical, some of it I could pick up on, but no, he's not. It's just you don't know, so you're filling in the blanks, and maybe that's the whole point that he's doing. But maybe it is. I mean, is it beautifully drawn? Yes. But it made no sense to me. So like with a lot of comics people, I find that a lot of them, 80% is the art and 20% is the story.
Yes. Yeah. I think it can go the other way too, where it's sort of like, this person can't draw, but I really like. Yeah. I agree. It's hard to get perfect ratio.
Yeah, I like it doesn't be 50-50, but 50-50, 40-60, 60-40. If you like, because when I went to France, people were telling me, oh man, you're going to pack another suitcase, man. You're going to buy a lot of stuff in France. I'm like, no, I'm not. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because I can't read French. I bought 3 books. I bought more stuff in London because English. I bought the French Weapon X of Barry Windsor Smith, but they have this little hardcover edition, about this big, about the size of a tray. It's hardcover. It was €7, which is like $7.50. I had to buy that. It was a hardcover. It's beautiful. But then I bought a Mobius book, and then I bought a Godzilla in Hell trade that was reprinted because they won't reprint in America. It's like for whatever reason. It's and the original one's really hard to get. So like I got that, but that's all I got in Paris. To be like, that's all you got. I'm like, I can't read French.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the point? I gotta understand the story. So so
I
anyway, go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say I feel like you also watched the cartoonist kayfabe.
I
I,
did I did a lot. I don't watch it anymore, but go ahead.
yeah, kind of the same. But I remember there were episodes where they would go to Japan and then bring back a bunch of manga. And I'm not a big manga guy by any means, but it was like super interesting just to see um, stuff from another place. You know,
Yes.
that just a completely different set of influences, a completely different goal. Um, I really like that. Yeah, I want to get more into like international comics just because it is.
I
It,
can I can recommend some, okay, because there's manga, because when I read manga, I thought all manga was what they call shonen manga,
okay.
One Piece, all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I thought it was all for kids. And then when I didn't realize until much later, I didn't learn was in Japan, people just keep reading comics. They just read
Yeah.
different comics, you get older.
Yeah.
So I like the more serious themed manga.
Same. Yeah.
So there's some I'll shoot you an email. Osamu
Yeah. Please.
Tezuka is a guy who's, and you get a lot of things from the library too. You don't have to buy them.
Mhm.
I leverage my library a lot. You,
Yeah.
huh?
I work at an art college. I work at Mass Art now, and they have a library. And I just discovered they have a ton of graphic novels. So yeah,
Oh,
they're doing the same thing. Yeah.
perfect. I'll give you, but there's, yeah, Yoshihiro Tatsumi. He's like my favorite. They only published like six collections of his in America in English. He's like one of my favorite. I learned about him from cartoonist kayfabe. There's some guys that I consider more serious manga,
Mhm.
and you read that and you're like, oh, this isn't just for kids. This is like really good shit.
Stuff.
Yeah. I've been through the cartoonist kayfabe. That I can't say his first name, but his last name's Ito, and he's like a horror.
Yeah, I'm not as big into horror.
Oh, really? Oh,
Junji Ito. I'm not as
yeah,
big into
yeah.
horror. Yeah, no, but his art is amazing.
His art's like as far as like black and white art goes,
Yes.
it's like some of the best I've ever seen, and
Yes.
I've never heard of him before that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why it's also good to see this stuff. Akira is one that I tell everybody to read, not because
Yes.
people say, "Oh, I saw the anime." I'm like, the anime was done after halfway through the manga.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to read the whole story. That thing blew my mind. I said that I did a video on my channel. That thing blew my mind. It showed me the possibilities of what you can do in comics and in manga, and that was just like an epiphany. And that's when I started reading a lot of like more adult manga. But I'll recommend some titles and some
Please.
creators,
Yeah.
and you can start from there. But um, it's just comics, man. It's just,
Yeah.
and it's different because like when I was in France, apparently Donald Duck is really big in France and Italy, where they actually have like ongoing cartoons and they actually have like him as a superhero. It doesn't sell here, but it's huge in France, and you could buy these big, thick, 300-page like trades
Yeah.
that look like the Akira trades for like 6 euros, which is like a little over $5-6. And my son was like, "Oh yeah," he was telling me about these. I've always heard about these. I've never seen these before. And it's like we went to a train station, a store. It was full of graphic novels, full of manga. It was all in French, but it was just full. And he bought one just to say, "I have it." He goes to me, in France and in Italy, this sells great. It doesn't sell in America. Donald Duck. I told him Donald Duck is like Fantagraphics. It's all
Yeah.
archival. You don't really see like there's not like a mass market comic. And he's like, maybe for kids, maybe, but he's like, no, but he's like, you don't know how huge this is in France. They still doing new stories. It's like, but it's interesting to see a lot of stuff because sometimes you see this stuff and then you think, oh, so that's where so and so got the idea for this
This
shit.
stuff.
I, so 100%. Like so. Well. First off, I have something very important to say, but before
No,
that,
say it.
the Donald Duck thing, is that like sanctioned by Disney, or are these like
Yeah.
Disney? Really?
Yeah, yes, licensed by Disney. Disney knows. Yeah, but it's Paris, it's Europe. France treats comics like a real art form. Their comics, they don't do the monthly comics thing. They do these nice European hardcovers. They're like $20 because I'm comparing. It's like $1.05. So I bought this Mobius one for Arzak. It was 1995 euros. So it's like not even $21.
Mhm.
Beautiful paper, well printed hardcovers. I mean, they give that stuff the respect it deserves.
Yeah.
They don't do the monthly comic thing, and I saw that. I'm like, this is what they should do to Batman. Just do
Yeah.
4 stories every year, and a nice hardcover. Get some really good arts and a good story, or good enough, and just sell the damn thing.
Yeah. No, it's interesting the other country because I know like manga and other countries. It's almost like how did those people make the pyramids? Like the rate at which they're making it is almost you
Oh,
can't.
they oh no, it's known as the mangaka artist, man. It's like
Yeah.
it's like a death job. It's like they
Yeah.
just work insane hours. There's a video, I'll send you the link.
Yeah.
A documentary on Osamu Tezuka. He's the guy who did Astro Boy. He did Buddha.
Yeah.
He's the god of manga. Like, not people say, there's a story. I remember somebody told me that they were in Japan and they say, oh, but they're talking about Osamu Tezuka, and he said, yeah, he's the godfather of manga. And the person corrected him, said, no, he's the god of manga.
Yeah.
He is. And I'll recommend some books of his. But there's a documentary you can see on YouTube that's a Japanese documentary with subtitles about him trying to create stuff and the crazy hours that he did and all the stuff he had going
Yeah.
on and everything and the self-doubt that he had. I mean, this is like
One of the
one of the
baddest
baddest
mother
motherfuckers on the
huggers.
planet, excuse my
Yeah.
French, when it comes to
No.
comics and
Yeah.
ever. He's on the Mount Rushmore.
I mean,
He's on the Mount Rushmore. And it's like, this guy's got self-doubts. That kind of informed me a little bit. Like, this guy, he's like, yeah, I'm not sure if this is really good. Oh yeah, well, what's in that? Oh, I don't have any ideas, I'm tired. And I'm like, this guy, as bad as he is, shit.
it's why like even Otomo, the guy who made Akira, like one page is someone's life's work, and he was like
Yes,
putting it out, yeah, on a consistent basis.
yes, even though he's got assistants, still it's his vision. It's like, what the hell. Anyway, so let me but yeah, so I'll remember to do that afterwards this weekend. I'll send you some links, some guys I recommend. I'm not an expert though, but I can tell you some books that I've read that I thought were outstanding.
No, I mean, I during the pandemic, I tried because I feel like I had kind of a bias against manga just because of what it kind of is here. Of like,
Same here.
yeah, yeah. So I
We've
wanted to give it like an actual. I wanted to give it a chance and everything, and there were some really good things. But what you were saying with how a lot of things are boosted from that. Like, there's a movie Paprika. Have you ever seen that? It's basically Inception. Like like they just stole scenes from it. It's unbelievable. It's shocking. Yeah.
yeah. When you read, there's certain things when you read, like when Frank Miller did Daredevil in the '80s, when he took over and did the art, he took a lot of stuff. I remember reading an interview where he said he would go to back then you could just watch Chinese, karate action films, and he
Oh,
would
okay.
watch them, and then there were certain scenes and moves, and he would put those in his comics, and you could just tell that he was like reading manga and stuff before, and that's where he came up with a lot of his fight scenes from the karate films. I mean, I remember reading that. I mean, I'm sure that he'll tell you that he created everything out of his thoughts, but
Yeah.
he actually said he did that. He just goes to art, back then in New York, you just go to cheap movies and see them, but there's always somebody that listens, but you see Akira and you're like, oh man, there's some concepts here, and just the scope and some of the stuff, because like the first volume is like almost all set up, even though it's good.
Yeah.
And then from volumes 2 through 6, it's just, we're putting the gap pedal to the metal, man, and we're just going 100 miles an hour. And you're like, this is cool. And all of a sudden you're like, space lasers, and you're like, what the fuck? And then you're like, what? And you're like, holy shit. And then it's like in 2020, the Tokyo Olympics, they're talking about the Tokyo 2020, and that's like, who knew? That's what's so crazy. It's like, who knew back then? I was like, who knew that was going to actually happen?
I don't know how he plotted out that story. Yeah, it's wild. And like because I saw the movie before I read it, and like I can't imagine the reveal of what Akira is.
Right.
And who didn't know.
Right. And I can't, and I'll just say that it never feels like he ran out of ideas and he's just padding the book. It just keeps on and on. Like he had this whole idea planned out. I'm not saying he did, but it just feels seamless. And that book was like an epiphany for me. And once I read that, I was like, this is what comics can do. This is what manga can do.
Forget
superheroes. Unless there's somebody that I really like working on a book, I am buying this
this
shit.
stuff.
So right now, the only monthly comics I'm getting for superheroes, I'm getting Nightwing by Tom Taylor, because it's actually a pretty fun book.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting the Miracle Man by I'm getting Miracle Man because they're in the new books, and I'm reading Gaiman and man, my memory ever since I got COVID, my memory sometimes sucks. But I'm reading this, I'm like,
This
Yeah, that
stuff
show's really good.
is.
I forget how good Neil Gaiman is. I was like, oh, I forget how good Neil Gaiman is. Neil Gaiman is like, hey, bitches. It's like I never lost it.
Yeah, just good writer. I'm finally reading Patience by
Oh,
Dan.
that's great.
It's unbelievable. Like I feel like I take him for granted or something. Like I for whatever reason I didn't read it until now, but I'm reading it at that library, and I'm just blown away by how accessible it is, but also complex. Like it's just so good.
He does time travel better than most people have ever done time
Yeah,
travel
I would
in my
agree.
life. And I'm like, I was reading, I was like, this shit actually makes sense. It's not overly
Yeah,
convoluted.
and it's
And
like
that's like, I didn't know Dan Cos could do this shit.
yeah, and you don't need like a convoluted explanation of how the shit really
No.
works. Yeah, it's just accept that that's part of it, and let's move on. And that's as a storytelling element, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So I'm going to count the 3, 2, 1, and
Okay.
then we'll just wrap up at that point because I
All right.
ran
Cool.
out of questions to say.
And in all honesty, feel free to use any of that. That was fine. I stand by everything I said.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll just cut out the parts I'll cut out some of the parts, whatever. I'll just do that. Maybe, you know what I'll do what do they call the B roll. Yeah,
Yes.
like the young kids say,
Yeah.
the B roll. Because I have kids and they talk about B roll, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's a thing now. Because I know about B roll from the movies, and it's like, oh, that's a thing now. And
That
it's like, oh,
industry term. Yeah.
maybe I'll do B roll. So anyway, all right, 3, 2, 1.